What up? Chris Noel here. You now tuned in to Operation on the Rocks. We about to get it in. In lieu of the holiday spirit, our special drink is, you want to go ahead and let them know, Mr. Marchione.
Evan Williams eggnog. So we're feeling festive.
But what they got in it? Tell them they don't care about all that. What they got in it?
This is Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. Evan Williams is the oldest commercial bourbon manufacturer from Kentucky. Blended whiskey, liquor, rum, and brandy. 15% volume.
Hey, I'm here for it.
Let's go.
That's a lot of fucking shit in that concoction.
For eggnog, 100%. So I'm going to pour these up and pass them around.
Well, that's fantastic, though.
And
cheers to the season.
Yeah.
Oh, you passing it around or you pouring it up?
I'm pouring it up.
All right.
There we go.
There we go. A little nog.
Beautiful.
Sound like a rap name, bro.
Yeah.
Pass that one down.
Little nog.
There we go.
Little nog dropping his album.
Little Nog X.
Yuletide Christmas coming soon.
Shake that.
Yeah. All right. So, fellas, if you need a refill, just call for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Pretty damn good, actually. Wow. Okay, Eddie. Eddie Will, baby.
Good choice. Good choice. So welcome back, everyone. It's Operation on the Rocks, episode 4. Listen, we hope you guys have enjoyed listening to us half as much as we enjoy doing these episodes. And with today, December 5th, being close to Christmas, my absolute favorite time of the year for many reasons. And we're going to talk about that. But first, I want to give a shout out, a special birthday shout out to my man Sean over here.
Hey.
Listen, man, you got to get some friends like the guys in this room, man. This guy, intelligent, driven. If you come to him and you want to debate something, you just better be prepared. Is all I'm gonna say. This dude is like a fountain of knowledge. Good to be around, good people. So, man, happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, man.
Thank you,
Cheers.
guys. Cheers, man. I appreciate you guys. And yeah, man, shout out to the audience for being with us on this episode, this special holiday episode. And I appreciate the birthday wishes. I appreciate each one of you guys, just because you all offer a fountain of information and knowledge. And what I love and the whole purpose of this thing is, even when we disagree, we're able to come back together full circle and just hang out as boys, as vets. Talk family, talk money, and be able to grow together, man. And that's something that in my life at this age, I need. So thank you guys. Appreciate y'all.
Absolutely.
Man.
So with that being said, tonight's first topic that we want to bring to you guys. So, and the question I want to pose to you all is, what does Christmas mean to you? Why do you celebrate Christmas? You know, is it because you grew up, your parents, your family, you all get together, you have a good meal, you spend time together opening presents? I mean, just think back to when you were a child, right? There was a special feeling on Christmas morning that just absolutely cannot be replicated. And then, but as you get older, and I think everyone can relate to this, especially you guys, you know, Christmas just doesn't feel the same. And like, you know, I find myself having trouble getting the holiday spirit sometimes, you know. Like, for example, I'll play some Christmas music on the way to work or something like that. But I just, for some reason, Christmas does not feel the same. And I think it's because the older I get, the more I learn about things, you know. And one thing I want to pose to everyone is, it feels like Christmas has become a corporate takeover, right? Because ads go ahead and start in October. All the big corporations, think Amazon, et cetera, Walmart, you know, they want to push their products, and they know this is their biggest time of the year. I mean, think about everybody who works in retail. What's your biggest time of the year? Thanksgiving to Christmas. That kind of tells you something. So with that being said, you know, we want to kind of talk about, why do you celebrate Christmas? So for those of you who do not know, there was a festival in ancient Roman times called Saturnalia. And that was the festival that celebrated Saturn, who was known to them as the god of agriculture. And that coincided sometime around December 17th. Audix fact, check me if I got that wrong. But essentially what would happen is they would gather, the gender roles would reverse. So the man would do the woman roles and vice versa. Also, what common themes that you see now, they would light trees. There would be a lot of greenery. But overall, it'd be one giant party, like one absolute big debauchery, one big giant party. And then also you have on December 25th, it was called Sol Invictus, or the unconquerable sun. There was also a celebrated festival. So what happened during this time frame? You know, there was a big occurrence in Rome where, you know, and I'll say I think what happened. You know, people get Christianity confused a lot with what happened in Rome. You know, because what happened was a lot of pagan festivals were occurring, like, and instead of blood and conquer that Rome had been accustomed to for hundreds of years and thousands of years before that, you know, why not introduce Christianity, something with morals, and, you know, that's much easier in blood and conquer, right? So I want to pose this question to you. Why do you celebrate Christmas? What does this mean to you guys?
Awesome, man. Thanks for that setup. I'll take it and jump in and go first. And I've mentioned this on previous episodes. And I know that you guys know this about me, but I'm a Christian. I'm faith-based. So first and foremost, Christmas to me is about representing the birth of Jesus Christ and celebrating that, my Lord and Savior. And even though I knew that as a kid, you know, as a kid, you're more concerned with waking up on Christmas morning and coming down the stairs and jumping into all that loot. And even thinking back on some Christmas memories, it was that, dude, like could not sleep. You guys remember that?
Yeah,
And
absolutely. Wired, man.
Right. As soon as you could, like getting down and opening presents and everything. And it was more my mother's family. We were closer to her side of the family. My father's family was in Pennsylvania. Mother's family's here in North Carolina. And we would all get together with the cousins and everything and kind of do Christmas Eve there. And then Christmas morning would be with the immediate family doing presents and stuff. And I'll say that, yes, that part definitely has changed. And there's a maturation piece that comes into it as well, where it's not about, hey, we're the providers now, you know?
Right,
so we're not looking forward to like getting something, even though we get things, but it's not that same way where it was like the day to like clean up and who got the most and et cetera, et cetera. And I will say this for you guys, because team, we were having the most awesome conversation just before we came on camera here. And the guys were sharing stories about their kids and being fathers. And that's something that you guys have different. And I'm sure Christmas has a different meaning for you guys in that regard, because now you're able to see it in your kids, you know, over the years. Yeah. And so I don't have that, you know. So when I look at things that might change for me and why I might not be into it as much as I used to, I think it's kind of that, because there is an element with the presents and the gifts and the stuff that for us, you know, you get into your 30s, you get into your 40s, you've seen it all before. Right. You know what I mean? But for kids, it's still new, it's still fresh, and they're yours, you know, they're the loves of your life. And that piece of it is special. So I kind of take that away from what you were saying. And then from the, in terms of, you know, looking back historically, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 years ago, whenever ancient Rome and these stories, I'm sure there were things borrowed. And I know that we were sharing a video this week and some stuff that I looked at as well. You know, there was a big wanting to convert to Christianity that was involved there, especially with the Catholic Church. The Pope was heavily involved in that. And I'm sure a lot of those stories are true, right, or mostly true, or elements of truth, et cetera, et cetera. And I, as a faith-based individual, I'm cool with it, because I think ultimately it's made the holiday better. I think that because still ultimately it's about representing the birth of Jesus Christ, and even that's something that is under debate. Well, you know, he actually wasn't born on December 25th. It actually isn't his birthday. Like, and I get all of that. Could be true, possibly true, is true, but we're representing the birth of Jesus Christ, and that's the main takeaway point there. If you take that element out of it, then it's just another random Friday in August. Or it's just another random Tuesday in March, when people are doing hedonistic behaviors like they would kind of normally do anyways, maybe with some more celebration and lighting of trees and holly and those kind of elements. So that's what I'll leave it right there for now, so you guys can get in, but that's essentially how it breaks down for me.
I got you. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to see what Christmas becomes when you turn into an adult, especially when you have kids. You guys hit it right on the nose. I know for me, what it means to me is exactly what you said, Mario, which is, you know, a celebration of Christ's birth, And then now that I'm an adult and I'm not going after toys and I'm not looking for what happens in the morning, seeing my kids with their expression on their face.
Absolutely.
That is what it means to me. It means happiness. I think it's a form of happiness that is two-sided, right? Because the form of happiness is materialistic. I think there's a two-sided coin there that I've learned as a man, because I've spent several $1,000s on Christmas between my mom, my sister, my children, my wife. And as a man, and I think I speak for, all men that are providers, you start to get into this tunnel vision of provision where you're not even really enjoying the day necessarily. You're just preparing for it. And you're almost happy that it's over.
The pressure that it brings is immense.
It's crazy.
I mean, being a father and the pressure is immense.
Yeah, so I'll end it with this without diving into, because I think we want to expand on that, on the where Christmas comes from aspect. But just in terms of what it means to me, I feel like it's two sides. I feel the happiness of providing for my family, but I also feel the pressure of that thing right there, which is providing every single year, making sure that my family feels as though I care about them.
Mm-hmm.
Because who wants to come down and your wife is like, damn, you didn't give me anything?
Oh.
Who wants to? What man wants to feel that?
Yeah.
Right.
What man wants to look at their kid's face and you got them one toy, and then Joey across the street over there, he's got the latest Xbox, he's got the latest toys, and your kid's just like, I got this.
Might as well go outside and build your own doghouse.
There you go.
I feel like for me, in this season of my life, there's a phrase that continues to pop up, and it's keep the main thing, right? And so for me, everything does go back to a relationship with God. I, like Mario, and Christian as well. And so from a fatherly standpoint, I got two kids, two blessings or whatnot. They're a little bit older now. One's 14, one's 15. So when they were younger, definitely, you know what I'm saying? Because their understanding of what Christmas is definitely, hey, I'm trying to see if I can get a Lego set, or I saw a Barbie, you know what I'm saying, that I went, okay, yeah, daddy's definitely going to take care of you. I'm going to make sure you good. Make sure that you get the typical American dream Christmas when you come down the stairs. I'm going to make sure that you have that. But now as they get older, for me, I'm teaching my son the difference between, hey, like a legit relationship with God, and then compared to that, you have a whole bunch of distractions. And essentially, Christmas in America has become a capitalistic ploy to gain more money. You know what I'm saying? It's a reason basically for companies to, you know what I'm saying, get more money. And so right now, for me, making sure that my son knows that, hey, like this day, yeah, it's okay to, enjoy, splurge, make sure that, your loved ones feel amazing by what you buy them. But at the end of the day, just understanding is about the birth and divinity of Christ. And so, yeah.
To caveat on, to follow that up, because we're talking about the divinity of Christ, we're talking about what Christmas is supposed to mean. But then I feel like we want to ignore the origins. And I don't know, and I'm not saying I have the answer here. I'm saying I don't know if that is what God intended. And the reason why I say that is this, right? And I don't remember the exact verse, but it's very explicit that God is like, do not follow pagan rituals. Mm-hmm. I don't care that you labeled Christ on it. Do not follow pagan rituals. Mm-hmm. So don't take on, Yule time. If you listen to some of these commercials, Yule time, right? And Yule time songs and Yule time things. That's an old Norse
Yule log burning,
celebration. The 12 days of the Norse,
That's where 12 Days of Christmas comes from.
Correct. So it isn't just as simple as, oh, well, I believe in Christ and, I'm gonna stamp Christ on it and now we're good. Yeah, you could do that. And again, I don't have the answer, but I want to hear you guys' opinion. Is there any type of reluctancy, faith-based reluctancy to say, wait a minute, I know that this is an American tradition that has been stamped in our minds, but are we being fooled? Are we being misled? Is the wool over our eyes because we're refusing to let go of something that has been, ingrained in our society, versus saying, actually, God probably wouldn't want this because we are I won't say worshiping,
Taking
right?
from something that has been labeled as
We are.
paganistic.
There's a reason
Right.
why he didn't want Samson to deal with Delilah. There's a reason why he didn't want Solomon to marry all these different women. There's a reason why he told the prophets, do not do these things. Do not get with this woman. Why? Because she's going to introduce her traditions to you. And you're going to follow him. And what did Solomon do? He built a temple for Baal, right? Even though he knew God was real. He knew what his father David had done. And he still built the temple because he had been convinced that, oh, it's just a tradition. It's just...
So I do, and I want to let you talk on this too. I do have a question though, because I'm interested to hear what you think. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But do we celebrate things, or do we take on things in our culture because of the origin, or because of the present meaning of what it brings to the culture? You know what I'm saying? And so, because if we start going down that rabbit hole of paganistic, traditions or whatnot, man, that spans far and wide. And so we know, I mean, there's like you said, Saturnalia, the Yule, like there's tons of things, but and we know even kissing under a mistletoe goes back to those nights of debauchery. You know what I'm saying? Like that's part of that as well. But do we get hung up on that? Or do we say, hey, God, we know why we're celebrating this, and we focus more on that? Because I know the Bible also talks about, hey, whether you eat, drink, you know what I'm saying, whatever you do, dedicate it to God, you know what I mean? And so pushing
That's
forward
true.
and like do it unto God. And so do we focus more on that? And while realizing God is looking at our hearts and our motives, you know what I mean? Or do we get so hung up? Because there's other things too. Like, I mean, we can go around this forever. Like Valentine's Day, you know what I'm saying?
It's a murder.
Easter, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, you know what I mean? Thanksgiving.
Easter, the
you know
Easter
what I
bunny,
mean?
that's a fertility bunny.
You know what I mean? Which is obviously not, you're not gonna find.
So then my answer to that question, and I'll give my opinion on it, is it's tough, right? Again, I'm saying right here, audience, I don't have the answer. And I'm telling you guys, I don't have the answer. I'm just posing the question of, are we ignoring these things because it's convenient? To answer your question, I won't say it's hung up on. It's more about education.
Right.
If I don't know that the bunny of Easter that I'm showing my children is a fertility rabbit, then they're ignorant to what it actually means, even though the tradition of what it means is still here. Now, if they had ridded everything, they got rid of Yule time, they got rid of kissing under the mistletoe, they got rid of ornaments on the tree, right? They got rid of certain aspects of traditional pagan beliefs, then I can agree with you, right? We ridded ourselves of these pagan beliefs. We've done away with the actual festivities of these things, and we've replaced it with a holy day, right? But the fact that we're still involved in mistletoe, we still have the evergreens, right, from the winter solstice. We still have the bunny rabbit hopping around. They make movies about it. They do all kinds of things with it. The fact that we're still doing those things, are we still practicing those things?
I fundamentally agree with you, meaning that the optimal way to celebrate Christmas is only to focus on representing the birth of Jesus Christ and nothing else. But also, I think that intentionality is very important, and that kind of spins off of the point that Chris was making. We wouldn't have known any of that if it hadn't been told to us, right? but there's also no evidence to suggest that we would have been worse off by not knowing it if the intentionality that we were bringing to it the whole time was representing the things we do in coordination with representing the birth of Jesus Christ. And I think if we say we're going to do away with the Christmas tree, we're going to do it, and we're going to replace it with these other things, some other story will pop up that some other culture, some other time, something and something, and they use dogs and not rabbits.
It's inescapable.
And so, and that's ultimately where I land with it. And we look at Christmas not just for those things, but like Christmas is also widely regarded as the most generous season of the year. Like more, and even though people don't always follow through on peace on earth, goodwill towards men, there is an energy of that we've always been taught in our culture growing up. There is a more likelihood that someone is going to give when they were less likely to give. And I think that a lot of times, like the commercialization piece, and I understand that part of it as well, because businesses are in business to make money. This is the time where they know they can capitalize on the customer. But the flip side of that is Ebenezer Scrooge, who said, December, the 25th of December is just an excuse to pick a man's pocket once every year. And we don't want that either. You know what I mean? So, I think that, again, I fundamentally agree with what you're saying, but I don't think that I think because our intentionality behind it, generally speaking, it is all in correlation with how we represent the birth of Jesus Christ. It's not inherently sinful.
Okay.
It's very interesting. If I look at it from a purely subjective standpoint, and again, the subjective part being me, you think about, what the pagans did, right? They had big giant parties in the middle of the street, ugly Christmas sweater party. There's a lot of things that we do that are like very in theme with them, right? And, I hate that our culture, can you guys relate to the fact that how often does your family get together?
Weddings and funerals.
Weddings and funerals.
Unfortunately.
All right, and think about
and births.
Can you guys relate?
Babies, births.
Okay.
So for mine, Mother's Day, Father's Day, one big, sometimes vacation, random off day in the summer, Thanksgiving, Christmas. It seems like I like Christmas for the fact, that you get to see your families and everybody gets to get together. But why does it only have to be certain times of the year,
It's an interesting point. So my wife's mom, she, and I don't know the full spectrum of her religion, but y'all may be somewhat familiar with Black Israelites.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't know if you guys know the full spectrum of what that means and what that looks like. I don't know the whole spectrum of it either. But what I will say is how they go about things is they celebrate only the holy days given by God. Okay. So, much like the Jewish tradition, where they only celebrate the holy days that God has said is holy. So the question becomes, I guess, is that the correct way to go about it? Only focusing on the days deemed by God, not necessarily Christ, because I think when Christ came, based on what I've read and what I've seen in the testimony, is his focus wasn't on the days, the holy days, the Sabbath. He, quite frankly, he was correcting people in those times and saying, are you not more important than the Sabbath, right? Mm-hmm. Or is the Sabbath more important than you? So he was on a different mission. But going back to the Old Testament or the Torah, there were specific days. My wife's mother celebrates those days, and she refrains from some of the more mainstream holidays.
Mm-hmm. I think, honestly, man, I think either or is fine.
Okay.
Not saying, I'm not going to go down.
Yeah.
This episode, guys, we're not going to go around the Black Israelite or.
No,
we're not going to go on things like that.
We won't touch that right now.
We're going to touch on that in future episodes, a full dive of the faith, so to speak. But again, I think if your focus is on the birth of Jesus Christ and celebrating that versus, I got to get this, I got to buy all these presents, like this has to be done. We're not even going to mention Jesus on Christmas morning. I think that when it becomes a problem, when everything else just stops.
When
because
you forget.
Yes. I got to get all my shopping done. I mean, how many times have you talked to people? I haven't even done my Christmas shopping yet.
That's all they think about.
Well, have you even prayed yet? Have you even repented yet?
A lot of people that celebrate Christmas
You know-
aren't Christians. Think about
Right.
that.
There we go. There's that.
That is a
Think about
topic that I want to dive into, and I'm glad you brought that up because, you know, everybody has a general idea of what Christmas means for the Christian community, especially in America.
Right.
So, you know, what would be? Let's say I want you to I want you to play devil's advocate. Why would you celebrate the holiday if you don't believe that, you know, Jesus was the Son of God, or, you know, he was just another rogue
You
Israeli?
celebrate.
He was another rogue
you
Israeli
celebrate
preacher.
Xmas. You celebrate Xmas, and Xmas represents a societal norm.
Right. I was gonna say because it's
That's
what
exactly
I've always
what that
done.
is.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Whether I believe in
Yeah.
God or I kind of believe, or
Right.
not really. I don't
Right.
really know Jesus. I never really. It's a
Right.
societal norm.
And I'll take that day off of work. Thank you very much.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We'll take that deal.
Yep. Yep.
That, and I know that there's also, you know, whatever the statistic is, 60% of Americans identify as Christian, but that's not necessarily an indication of if they're a practicing Christian or not. They just identify and say that, but that doesn't mean that you have a relationship with Jesus Christ, which is
Right.
the whole
So
meaning
point.
of that. Yeah.
So let me ask a question real quick. And this is all tying into the same thing. Do you think that we will be held accountable for the things that we did not take the time to learn when we see God?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you getting deep, man.
Absolutely.
Well, and I am, and it will tie back. You know what I'm saying? Because I know the Bible talks about my people perish for a lack of what?
Knowledge.
You know, I mean, so my thing is, and it ties back into where we started off. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I'm gonna be real with y'all. Like, a lot of these things, like where these rituals come from, and these traditions, like paganistic, you know what I'm saying, Saturnalia. That's not something that I was taught in school. You know what I'm saying? You would have had to have a hunger to go out and get that knowledge. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And so, and even for like people who are not Christians, you know what I'm saying? Even coming up like in a non-Christian household, not me, but other people, you know what I'm saying? They're not going to know about, you know,
They don't know about
Jesus.
Saturnalia.
They don't know about none of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? And so, and much less, like you were saying, people who don't have a legit or a genuine relationship with Christ. You know what I'm saying? And so that's my biggest thing too, man. Like there is I feel like we have the cliche scriptures and the cliche sayings down. Christianese, as I had a friend who used to say, everybody can speak Christianese. But when it gets to the nitty gritty and actually like, yo, let's dive in and figure out what the heck this is really about. You know what I'm saying? Like Christ's birth and and let's get rid of all the other stuff, expel all the garbage. You know what I mean? That portion, I do think about that a lot. You know what I'm saying? What do y'all think about that?
So I want to touch on something you just said, you know, and I have a lot of conversations with people, you know, I've tried to, I'm a big fan of elevator conversations, right? I'm a big fan of meeting people where they are and just, you know, if I'm uncomfortable starting a conversation, you know, just try to go out and talk to people. Random strangers, right? Again, the elevator conversations. Why do you believe what you believe? And if you talk to people, I mean, I don't really know. You know, I went to church growing up. I did this growing up. My parents did it. So, you know, it's just kind of stuck with me. Well, you're doing yourself a major disservice as a human being in general. If you're not taking the time to learn, you know, why you believe what you believe. Because at that point, you're made of a house of cards. At least your foundation is for your beliefs.
Yeah.
I'll
And pass that glass over while Bradley responds.
Yeah, man, pour up some of that nog, baby. I think it's scary. Knowledge is scary.
Yeah.
Information is scary. When you know something, it could totally shatter a life's worth, 30 years worth of beliefs, right? Because now you see the truth. Even, you know, pivoting from Christmas, we'll just use Thanksgiving because it just passed. You know, the reality is, right, I am thankful to be an American. I love I love the ideal of America, and I love the American dream thought process. However, I think, you know, the elephant in the room that especially now is hard to face is we had some dark times. We had some rough patches to get to a place where people can live the American dream. Turkey Day, or, you know, originally, you know, when the settlers came over, or prior to the settlers, the Europeans came over to the country, they weren't very nice to the indigenous people that were here.
Think about what you learned in school, Sean. Breaking bread with the natives who you just met.
Thanksgiving.
Teaching you a lot of things. That couldn't be farther from the truth.
No,
Maybe that happened in small pockets.
Yeah, I'm sure it did happen.
The overall picture was not good for the natives.
Right. You had situations where, maybe we did sit down and eat, but now I'm going to give you a blanket that has a disease on it, that smallpox that I know you're not going to survive because I need to wipe you out. So and I think you guys kind of hit it on the head before. We can go down that rabbit trail with anything. So the real question is, as a person with faith, where do you draw the line?
Oof, was not prepared for that one.
Where do you draw the line?
Where do you draw the line?
In terms of, if you understand that what it is that you practice has some pretty dark beginnings, and the real meaning behind it isn't what is being presented to you, and this, you have the knowledge, because you could play ignorant, but what you know. Know if you've researched something and you have the truth, and maybe you're not telling your kids, maybe you're not telling your wife, but what's going on. Where do you draw that line?
I drew the line this year and with Halloween. I didn't celebrate Halloween this year for the first time. My wife and I took our kids to our local church and did the trunk or treat. My daughter was dressed up as Red from The Descendants. All you fellow dads out there, Lord be with you having to deal with that show. My son was dressed up as Paw Patrol. But, I think back to my teenage years when I was more into going out and partying and things like that. Girls, dressing up as devils and things like that. It's just something about it that doesn't sit right with me, especially as someone who's kind of dedicated my life and made it a point to get right with God. As the last few years, especially in the last few years, I've always been faith-based, but this year I had a crisis of faith probably about 3-4 years ago, in the sense that I thought, man, there's so many books been removed from the Bible, all this and all that. And I took the time to, as I mentioned, doing this disservice to yourself. I mentioned, I went on every possible bit of research I could find, and I found the Bible to be the most true and reliable book there is out there, plain and simple. And we'll go over that one day in one of these episodes. But the whole point is, I draw the line, something like Halloween, right? Just an absolute, what are you celebrating? What are you celebrating? I know about All Hallows Eve and things like that, but what are you celebrating? What does dressing up as a devil and running around, getting drunk, what does that do? Again, like I've gone to plenty of ugly Christmas sweater parties and had my fair share of drinking. It doesn't make it any different, but I think the overall atmosphere is vastly different, right? Yeah. And I've kind of think I've drawn the line. What do you guys think? Something like that.
I think it can be harmless, but also I think it nerfs evil.
Yeah.
And I think that's closer to what you're speaking to that point of like, hey, like I'm seeing all this, I like to use the word energy, this energy that's happening over Halloween, and I don't, I want to withdraw from that. I don't want to be a part of that and everything. And I think, look, crises of faith happen. The quest for knowledge happens. I think that I think it's actually brilliant. The thing about Christianity is that you must choose. You have to make a choice. Okay. You'll never know it all. You'll never have all your questions answered. All the questions you get answered will only lead to more questions. You must choose. Then you'll be 60 years old and no closer to finding out that final truth that you've been searching for. You must choose. Choose ye this day
who you will serve.
You know what I'm saying? As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Okay. So I think that's kind of speaking of that. And I wanted to answer your question a little more directly, but I was going to ask you if you would repeat it again.
Which question?
The last one that you asked just a moment ago about
where do we draw the line?
Yeah, where we draw the line. And I think that it's a similar thing there. Like we're just to the extent that we know everything about the history of our country or the history of cultures and holidays and stuff, we're just going to have to ultimately choose what we want to believe about and how we're going to want to live our life.
Sure.
Because we weren't there.
Right.
You know, we weren't there. We won't ever be there. I guess maybe the machines will bring a time machine at some point, maybe.
So what's the question? What's the question behind it?
It's more of a statement that you've got to choose.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you've got.
So I'm gonna let you get to it, but I think this is where we're at in America right now. That crossroads of choosing, right?
Mm-hmm.
We had a conversation before, you and I, Trey. I think all of us really, and you were like, "Well, the victor writes the history."
Mm-hmm. They always do.
However, sometimes the history is wrong. Sometimes the history is lies.
Absolutely.
Do we believe lies because it's convenient? Or do we hold true to what the truth is and use the truth to lead us forward? I'm not saying victimize yourself, right? Because I think that's a common theme is, oh, well, if you talk about the past, you're a victim. No. I know what happened, and therefore I don't want it to happen again. How do we prevent this from happening again? Yeah. But if I don't know whatever happened, who's to say it won't happen again?
Right.
Who's to say that somebody won't come around 20 years from now with no knowledge of what happened in our past and say, that's a great fucking idea.
Right.
Let's do that. Because you don't know that when somebody else tried to do that 50 years ago, it destroyed the society as we know it, and it had to be removed.
Yep.
So I guess my follow-up question for you is that the choice? Ignore what
it's not ignoring, but even if you say, okay, so there's the victors wrote the data or wrote the history. Someone else is presenting alternative evidence. Mm-hmm. You've got to choose on that. Which one do you believe?
Well, that's the whole thing.
That's what I'm saying.
But if you find out that it's, I'm saying you as an individual, and also on this pod, if you as an individual find out the truth, and here's what I mean when I say truth. There was enough evidence to point to whatever you're being shown being false. Okay, there's enough holes in it, and you do enough research yourself where you can come, because I mean, like you said, we weren't there, but there is written history that can point to truths, right? That's why we read the Bible, right? I wasn't there with John, but I believe what John wrote to be factual because I believe in the testimony of these other disciples. It's testimony. If you got enough testimony that points to, hey, what they're showing you in fourth grade history, probably not true, right? Or it's fabricated and softened because we don't really want to show you what really happened. Are you taking the soft version?
I don't think that it's a hard and fast answer. I think that it's contextual too. So like talking about Christmas, I even though I never heard anything about how decking the halls with boughs of holly is actually a connection to a paganistic religion, I'm welcoming to that new information, and I'm okay to accept it because I know that the intention behind what I'm doing has nothing to do with that. So depending on what it is, like, what does it have to do with my current life or current society? If we were to find out that it actually wasn't pilgrims that came across, okay. Okay, well, we know now and we accept it, but like, does that change anything, or is there...
Well, it changes what we celebrate, because if that's the case, then the statues that are erected for the people that are pilgrims are wrong. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but
so we still got these in this scenario.
I understand what you're saying.
We still got these statues that say, "Oh, it's Christopher Columbus. He did it all." And then we read and we read and we read and read and we find out, oh, actually,
he never even reached America, by the way.
Do we still have the statue that we're teaching my 5-year-old and his 4-year-old that, hey, this is the guy? Because now we're teaching a false history because we don't want to share the truth.
And there is another guy that we can point to. I think that we're kind of going in a couple of different directions.
Sure,
If people want to take down the statues, they can go through the process and take down the statues.
That's
They're
we talked about
they're
this
fully
before.
right. This was
Well, we didn't get
kind of harkening
so
back
we didn't
to
talk
Operation on the Rocks has some episodes.
Let's talk about it,
Okay.
Trey.
Okay, they can go through the process and take down the statues. I think that's totally okay. I'm just saying,
Right.
statues are not something that you're waking up every day and thinking about. And even though, yes, we ideally want to teach our kids all perfect things, you can't control that, okay? And yes, on those onesie twosies, yes, we should try and improve that. But if you cannot say that you did not reach what you were trying to reach in life because of that, of some detail from something, using this example, that is far removed from the daily life of us. It's far removed from it. And so that's kind of the point that I'm trying to make.
Yeah. That's okay.
So I want to
you
hear
guys
from
got? What
my
you thinking?
hyper-polygot friend over here.
Okay, I heard a deep
He had
breath.
something.
Well, yeah,
He had
yeah,
something
he does.
cooking
I
over
heard
there.
a
I
deep
don't
breath.
know.
No, he's
Yeah.
cooking.
I don't know if the audience knows what a hyper-polygot is, but I don't know. And again, I don't even know how
I
many
don't know
languages
what that
qualify
means either.
someone
Can
for
you
that
tell me
term.
what
But
that
this guy right here speaks like 5 or 6
Hey,
languages,
man,
man.
I told you about telling my business online, man.
So-
I told you about that. But no, so check it out. Well, first and foremost, I wanted to first off, I agree. I can see where you're coming from. I understand both sides of what you guys are saying. And then I want to tie it back in with what I'm about to say. I want to go ahead and reel back and say that what you said earlier about Halloween actually convicted me, because that's something that I've been struggling with for years. Like, not wanting to take the experience from my kids. You know what I'm saying? Hey, it's harmless. We're gonna go out here, get some candy, come back in. We're not going into any satanic rituals. No, you know what I mean? Nothing
Right.
crazy or whatever. And so, but at the same time, I think this is what I wanted to say. You said earlier, you said you have got to choose, and I realized that could go in different directions, but I'll tell you how I interpreted it, right? You said you have to choose, and I believe that's what God is actually telling us as well. You know what I'm saying? My people perish for a lack of knowledge. Hey, like, you diving in, that is a
Lack
choice.
of knowledge.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that you diving into finding out who God is, that is a choice. You know what I'm saying? And that's what relationship is about. When you met your wife, you know what I mean? Like, you wanted to know everything about her so that you could do what? So that you could please her, so that you could be like, hey, like, I'm gonna treat you like no other man out here can do. You know what I mean?
I mean, that's not how it started.
Oh, okay.
But that's how it finished.
Yeah. Okay. See, there we go. There we go. And so my thing is, I've been convicted about that because I know that is a social norm. You know what I'm saying? That I've lived since I was yay high. You know what I mean? And people will say, hey, well, there's nothing wrong with it. You know what I'm saying? But we're talking about paganistic rituals and things that are anti-God. And that's the key. Sorry, that's the key thing right there, anti-God. If we really take our culture apart and analyze it, and if you spending forever with God is dependent upon how close you are to him and the things that you rejected that were not of him, like, how many things in our culture would pass, you know what I'm saying, that test? And I can truly say right now, Halloween would not pass the test. You know what I mean? And so, like, even with our conversation with Christmas, like, yeah, we're gonna do it. God knows our hearts. But we have knowledge of things that are anti-God, and we still celebrate them. You know what I'm saying? Even with the knowledge of it. And so, like, how is that conversation gonna look? And so I taught my son this. I said, okay, like, if I were to take off my shoestring right now, you know how you have a shoestring, right? And you have the little plastic part at the end, and then you have the rest of the shoestring, right? And then there's another plastic part at the end. It's super long, right? That little plastic portion, right, at the beginning, that is your life, right? It's really short compared to the rest of the shoestring. The rest of that is eternity. You know what I'm saying? And so think about, like, comparing that thing. The devil, our job is to glorify God for that little portion that we're here on earth for, right? And then the rest of that long stream, the devil's job is to distract you, right? And so this is where I'm about to come back with the whole choosing thing. The devil's job is to distract you with what? People have different vices. Some people It
With
may be
lies, distract you with lies.
We all have different
Right.
vices, things that we struggle with. You know what I'm saying? I think that if the devil can keep you distracted with things that you're like, it's not that big of a deal. You know what I'm saying? But if you really sit down and look at it, does it have anything to do with love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control?
Mercy.
Does it exude? Does it exemplify the characteristics of God? A lot of these things that we are gonna it's gonna be a hard no. You know what I'm saying? And so I would say, yeah, man. Like I taught my son, I was like, hey, listen, there's gonna be a whole bunch of distractions, man. And our job is to find out what those distractions are, push them aside, and keep the main thing, which is Christ, which your relationship with Christ. You know what I mean?
I 100% agree.
And so when you said you got to choose, I really feel like God is telling us, yeah, you got to choose.
But watch what you're choosing, though.
Watch what you're
The
choosing.
lies,
100%,
and it goes back to
100%.
the lies or the truth.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna pivot a little bit because we were talking about statues. And audience, just for your own context, we went down to Savannah, Georgia, and lovely city, had a great time, and we saw some statues of some individuals that were part of the Confederate military, and their statues are still erect out there, right? Now, some of these, military leaders, while I do believe they assume that their cause was just, right, for many different reasons, I'm sure there are some negative connotations with it, and obviously, we know who the victor was, right? The United States as a whole, and not the Confederacy. So to pivot away a little bit from religion, but still talking about the lies and truth, are we okay, or are you guys okay with statues being erected in this country that represent negative things, dark times, dark truths in our country?
Absolutely. And I'll tell you exactly why.
Tell me why.
Let's look at present day Germany.
Sure.
I don't know if you guys know, but I think the statistics are maybe 20% of people under 25 know what the Nazi Party is.
Okay.
Now, the same could be said for America, right, with the Confederates, right? I don't know how many young people pay attention to these kind of things, our history, but if you notice what happened after World War II, even talking about Nazis became, taboo, right? Now, in America, it's freely discussed in school. I learned it in high school, middle school. I remember family talking about it, right?
But let's clarify what we learned, though. We learned that it was wrong. We learned that it was
right. Well, I learned what I learned was the South wanted to fight to keep slavery going. Again, I'm speaking from a young trade
Are you talking about
perspective.
Nazis, or are you talking about
World War
Confederacy?
II?
I'm talking about the Civil War right now.
Okay.
This is what I learned in
Oh,
school.
okay, I
But
got you.
what happened, why I was bringing up Germany as a counterpoint, is they banned all the knowledge of that. They wanted to stop talking about it. It's like they wanted to erase it from their history.
Okay.
And now what do you have?
20% of them.
You have a large group of people spreading theories that, the Holocaust didn't happen. Like, that is a movement going on. Holocaust denial. You have people saying, the Nazis were burning books and stuff like that for good reasons, right? Now, that is a whole nother rabbit hole. Granted, we can talk about that all you guys want, future episode. But I think my point stands is that history is important. And whether it be a statue, sure. You have to know, like, hey, this was a group of people. This was a guy. A statue was erected of him.
Yeah.
They believe so strongly in their cause. They built a statue to honor this man. And that shows you why history takes the course of actions that some take, right? A strong, firm belief in what you're doing.
Sure.
So I think that's why I think it's very important. And if you try to erase history, it's bound to repeat again. Like exactly what you're seeing with the Nazi revival in Germany.
I don't think you should. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I
go
tend
ahead.
to lean in that direction, but I also believe that the people of that area, so we were in Georgia at the time, the people of that area want to go through the process to have the statue removed, cool. and I've got no issues with that. If they want
Fair
to,
enough.
and this is what I also said on the day in that moment, if they also want to erect statues to commemorate the fallen slaves or just that period and what that community went through, I'm fine with that too. The thing that I'm not fine with is just in a mob fashion going and taking a statue down, or in a mob fashion going and putting a statue
Based
up.
on emotion, right?
Yeah.
That
That's
versus
fair.
like, let's discuss why we're doing this.
Because it's the statues, right? Well, okay. Well, what about the books? Well, what about all the servers over the internet that also have these people?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
I want to be clear. I'm not saying that we need to rid, for example, like U.S. history books of what happened with the Confederacy. That's not what I'm saying. I think it's super important to have that. What I am saying, and I'll bring it back to your Nazi comparison, what the Germans learned is that Nazis were bad. What we learned is Nazis were bad. We didn't learn that they were warriors that were fighting for a true cause. That's not what we learned, right? Because that's a different conversation.
Yeah.
A conversation saying keep the history and make sure people understand this is what happened in World War I and World War II and why we went to war and what happened and what the Nazis were doing to the Jews, and it was terrible.
Yep.
All that should be kept. And I think we have kept those things. I say the same for the Confederacy. Why are we why are we turning them into champions? Why are we making them? I think we are. I think in South Carolina, mid-August, you have the Confederate Parade. I went to Rock Hill High School. In Rock Hill, there's a park called Confederate Park where they fly the Confederate flag, and every single year they come out and celebrate and commemorate the Confederacy. One, first of all, and this is my opinion, and I know this, there's definitely a different opinion on this, but one, this is a treasonous thing. This particular group of individuals said, I don't want to be a part of the U.S. anymore. I have my own flag, and I'm willing to kill another U.S. citizen because their beliefs don't align with mine. Can you get any more treasonous than that?
So you think they should be prosecuted?
No. I'm not talking about prosecution because obviously the Confederacy is long and gone, and I'm not talking about that.
And that's kind of like my point.
I'm saying no, but we should not celebrate. Meaning, why are we having a flag in your state that suggests that you are still representing a treasonous military group? That doesn't make sense in the United States now in 2025. Why are we doing parades in the states, in the United States of America, that celebrate what you guys stood for? That's like me saying, hey, you know what? Well, you know what? What I like to celebrate in my home is the Taliban. They might have did some terrible things, but they stood for their cause. They're champions, and it's history. I want a Taliban flag to be a part of the North Carolina flag because in 2035, it's mostly Muslim and Taliban in this state, and I think we should have a Taliban flag.
Bradley,
Is that fair?
Bradley, you are turning on a light bulb right now. I think we should go down to Rock Hill Confederate Park, and we should do Operation on the Rock street interviews.
Ooh.
I think
Now you would get.
Oh yeah,
Now be prepared. Now we'd have a getaway driver ready to go if something goes.
I don't know anything about that celebration. I certainly believe you when you say that, and I think that probably happens in a handful of places. I think they're mostly isolated. I think that's not ultimately representative of the vast majority of America and our culture. And so to say we're doing this, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. If the Taliban wants to, we do have processes where they could try to come into the States, become citizens, move to North Carolina, and then go through the process to make that happen. I'm betting the under on it. And also that's not American history, like the Taliban and all of that. And I mean, unless we want to talk about Mandami or kind of make a transition into like that kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
What are y'all feelings on that? Because I think that's a valid segue, right? Everybody's pissed off. Well, I won't say
And
everybody.
I'll say I don't believe he's a part of the Taliban. I disagree with him politically, vehemently, but I do not believe he's a member of the Taliban. I don't think anyone's saying that, but
No,
because
there
I
might be
made
some
that,
people saying
well, I shouldn't have said anything. I should have left that. That would have been so clippable. All right.
No, I mean,
but go ahead.
I have heard though that everybody's. But you know what? The same thing happened with Obama, and I'm gonna give you guys an example. I'll talk about Madani first. So when he got elected, okay, so many people were so scared that he's going to create New York. New York's going to be this Muslim state where all of these, mosques are going to be erected and everybody's going to be wrapping their heads up. First of all, if you've ever been to New York, if you think you're going to turn New Yorkers into wrapping their heads up from one mayor, then you obviously have no idea what's going on in New York. New Yorkers are not going for that shit. They done seen it all. They've been through a myriad of different political positioning. Nobody's gonna do that in the state of New York. Furthermore, most of New York is rural. The only part that's city is New York City. The rest of the big state of New York is cows,
Upstate,
farmland.
Yeah.
And so nobody's gonna make New York.
New York does get
Well, he's
soured
the New
to
York City mayor, so he wouldn't be. It would be the 5 boroughs that he's
Correct.
in charge of. Yeah,
That is
so he would be
correct.
in charge of that area.
But I saw a lot of fear, and mostly online, of this Muslim revolution that's going to happen because he's mayor. And I don't understand why this knee-jerk reaction happens.
I think the religion piece is part of it, but I think mostly it's the democratic socialist part of it.
Okay, talk to me about that.
Well, it's such a counterintuitive idea, tradition. Speaking historically, traditionally from classic American government, classic American perspective, and he hasn't taken office yet, so we don't know. He'll take office next month, and we'll see how it plays out. I know that he is kind of hamstrung in terms of he's got to do a lot of things through the council and the governor and even the White House, right? I actually did a YouTube short about that, talking about him going into the White House, and Trump is the worst, right? And then you get elected, and what do? You go to the White House, you stand with the orange man, and just like everyone else,
Well, he's
you
the president.
shake his
The
hand.
president of the United States.
Politician's ruse.
He's Adolf, right? He's the bad orange man. You're not gonna do anything
Well, Trump is
here.
the one that tweeted about him. Let's be fair here. Trump is the one that got on Truth Social.
That's Trump's brand. That's totally Trump's brand.
Trump can do this, but no one else.
Well, he's the president too.
We all got social media. I can't hop on my social media and say
You
what
absolutely
I
can.
want. Only him.
No, you absolutely can.
So
but
I
what
think
I'm
that's
saying,
fair
that's
game.
not Mandani's brand.
That's
Mandani
fair, yeah.
is the nice, clean cut. Hi, I'm gonna shake your hand, and I'm gonna give you all those things.
That's
New York.
why he went to the White House. He went to the White House to preserve that brand. Hey, I may not agree with you, but I'm here to shake your hand. What's wrong with that?
Because it's what is perceived that the establishment always does, which is give the public one message and then go behind closed doors and deliver a different message.
Politician's ruse.
That's
I think people will say
That's
anything.
facts.
I think people will say anything to get elected. Honestly.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And, I mean, and look, in New York, they chose him. New
York chose that.
right?
That's
yeah,
what they
so
want.
like that's
Yeah,
totally
that's what they
cool.
want.
Yeah, they want that
In a democratic
Cool.
free election,
Yeah.
they chose him. Now, the thing about it is, Trump seems to like the guy. Now, I wonder how MAGA feels about this democratic socialist going into the White House, shaking. Because remember, he's of a lower stature, obviously,
That's
than
why we're
who
cool
Trump
with
is.
it. That's why we're cool with it.
However, Trump has co-signed him apparently and says, "I think we could do great things together."
You know, there's a thing about Trump that
Interesting.
people need to know, and this is just what I observed. But Trump seems to respond well to anyone who strokes his ego to a degree, right? And I think that world leaders take advantage of that
Because they know.
to kind of get favorable deals, as he likes to call them. Now, with that being said, to go back to your point about Mandani, I think that Muslim and Christian societies have never meshed well together. I mean, you can go all the way back to the Crusades for this one, right?
Yeah,
And that is a whole
That's a rabbit
hours
hole.
and hours long conversation about all that. But
Would you?
Yes, sir.
yeah,
Yes,
I
sir.
say all that to say this.
Hey, we're gonna finish you off here, dude.
Yes, we are.
There is fear
Oh,
that
okay.
Yes, sir. Happy
Nice.
birthday, man.
oh
Thank
man,
you,
you
sir.
took all the last. There
sorry.
is a
His
fear
birthday.
that what Mandani do is kind of revert away from traditional American values, right?
Mm.
And our country, it's the Pledge of Allegiance, one nation under God, not Muhammad.
Well, wait a minute.
Wait,
Wait
hold on.
a
Not-
minute. Wait a minute.
Hold on, bro. Hold on.
Now we're talking about some very specific things.
bro.
God is in the eye of the beholder, and we need to make that very clear. And which is, and I say that because I don't know if you guys know, but some of the founders, the guys that wrote Declaration of Independence, they weren't all Christians. Some of them were deists, meaning they believed in God, but they weren't quite sure which.
We're
God.
not talking about the same God. And that's why I'm always careful when people's like, yeah, man, I believe in God. Yeah, I think
Which God?
God is good. And I'm like, okay,
The man upstairs.
Noted.
man
I
upstairs.
noted because look, here's the thing.
I'm not
Your
religious. I'm spiritual.
Yeah, hey, what is your favorite rapper do after he gets on stage and wins an award? Hey, first and foremost, I want to thank God.
Watch the ones that say Christ.
That's
being specific.
the one I'm more interested in. I was like, because there's also a God of this world which we know is not Jesus Christ.
Correct.
That's Satan.
Right. The
Right.
prince and power
And
of
so
the
that's
air.
the thing. But going back to what you were saying earlier,
Yeah,
bro.
He said, "I had some heat for you, bro."
I think it's hilarious, man. I think it's laughable when people start talking about politics and God. You know what I'm saying? Because again, going back to those attributes of God and like the things that represent Him, I don't see them in any politicians. I don't care if you're for the blue or the red party. I've yet to see anybody exemplify that, like,
Right.
and it really, I think that people, the only time that people start talking about religion is if it's going to get a couple more votes, and they weaponize that to get those votes. But if and that's why it's funny hearing about Mandani. I probably messed his name up, but we see something different that is outside of American culture, and we're like, heck to the no. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's like that in itself. It has nothing to do with Christianity, bro. We're just using that as a weapon to be like, oh, and another thing. You know what I'm saying? But the fact is, like, his values, what he, dare I say, what he looks like compared to the average candidate. You know what I'm saying?
The former
Politician.
mayors.
Yeah, the former mayors, completely different, and it's un-American. And the thing is, people do not want that, and that's just what it is. It has nothing to do with Christianity. It's just that's the Christianity portion is just what we've weaponized.
I got a question for you. I got a follow up for you for that because I love that. Against Christian values, against the norm of Christianity, what is an American? What is an American? What is the ideal for America? Because, and I'm gonna pose that question, and I'll give what I think.
Okay. An American is it's a person, but also it's a legal status. There's documentation and a legal process and a government that backs up saying that you are an American. Because I'm assuming that you meaning an American citizen.
No, I mean the general. I understand where you're going with it. I'm talking about
traditional American
values.
The ideal. Okay.
The ideal of America. Because right now that is the topic of discussion.
Are we going on are we coming from a nationalist standpoint? Like, hey, like for instance, and I want you to tap into this. Like for instance, like most Americans, if I were to say, okay, we are a Christian, you know what I'm saying, a Christian society. Our values are very much so similar. There's things that we're gonna accept, not accept. And when you compare it to, I don't know, like somebody from India, you know what I'm saying? You're going to obviously be able to tell the difference right off the bat. There's just certain things that we do here in America that hey, like you're not going to find anywhere else. I don't know. Like, is that the way you're like sort of leaning as far as
where I'm
moral
leaning is the argument of.
It sounds like you're asking a philosophical question.
Correct. This isn't necessarily, do you have citizenship? Do you not? Which is being questioned right now. We have ICE running around stopping
100%.
people that
Who are Americans.
have documentation.
Right.
So I'm not saying all. So I don't want to tell the audience, oh, ICE is just stopping everybody, because that's not true. I do agree there are illegal immigrants that are being stopped, but they're also stopping people that are legal citizens. Why? What is it? A look? Is it a skin tone? Is it you know another language other than English? What is the idealism in America?
I think the ideal American is right someone who, and again, this is where I think Christian values and American values intersect, right? Because the nation was founded upon freedom of religion, freedom of speech, basically a free society in which you were accepted for the things that you want to pursue, and you have the ability to pursue what you want to pursue, right?
Things you believe.
There's not blockers in your road, right?
Right.
So, with that being said, we're talking about ICE and stopping people, right? I think it's someone who comes over to this country and they're ready to contribute, right?
Okay.
In the sense of, hey, I'm not coming here. Hey, I'm ready to put in my fair share. I'm ready to work. I'm ready to be a contributing member of society. I'm here to spread good human values that respect other people, that, basically, right, just someone who is a productive member of society. I don't know how else to describe it, because, but you have people that also come here to take advantage of the sheep, as we like to call them, right?
Okay.
And I think the whole idea of immigration enforcement is just such a hard topic to discuss in general, because you're teetering the line of moral values, because too hard, and again, an innocent person ends up taken away from their life and shipped back to wherever they're from.
Right.
But on the positive side of it, right? Let's say a hardened criminal who has come here and does everything but American values, and they're sent back home. So it's a fine line to tether, and it's.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, and it's not going to be perfect. And I think that, yes, I'm sure there are encounters where there's been American citizens or people certain status that have been stopped and maybe held and deported. But I think that those numbers are well inflated. I think the media is terrible for that, to include Fox News. Fox doesn't get a clean pass, but that's a different conversation. And I, as a conservative, I do watch plenty of Fox, but I try and watch everything. But like Akilmar Abrego Garcia, dude's a total dirtbag. That's one of the only Supreme Court cases Trump has lost. His administration has lost. And he was brought back to the States only to get hit with charges here in America. And that's what's currently going on with him. But to define an American, you have to define America first, because an American does not exist without America. And America... And we're talking about the current context. Well, what about, again, back to the Pilgrims? Were they not Americans? There was no system set up. There were no law. In the current context, America is land with borders and rules. Okay. And the whole American dream is built around that fundamental concept. You cannot have that dream without that initial starting point. And an American is going to be someone who is all in on that. So if you want to come here and go through the process and get your citizenship, great. But when America plays your country in the World Cup, who are you pulling for? Okay, and I know that's not the end-all be-all of everything, but you're not all in, bro. Okay, and if one of these things pops off, I know we had Venezuela on the list tonight, are you going to sign up? Are you cool with that? Then you're not all in, because our people were.
In what way? Sign up for what, though?
For whatever comes. For whatever comes.
Right, but you're touching on a very specific point, right? We're talking about Venezuela.
Well, not just Venezuela. I'm just saying that because that's a different topic. In general.
I got you. Right. That's interesting. I don't disagree with that. I think there is a mentality that you have to have when you want to become an American citizen, and if you are an American citizen, meaning you were born here. Here's where things get a little fuzzy. If you, let's say you came from Italy, you weren't born here. Okay, you came from Italy. You did everything you needed to do. You got a job legally. You have a social. You're working as a nurse practitioner. ICE comes to your job and snatches you out of it because you weren't born here. They really don't have a warrant. They really don't know anything about you other than that you weren't born here and you speak a different language. I mean, you speak Italian.
I've got to speak English if I'm a nurse practitioner.
Well, you speak English and Italian, just
Okay,
like most
yeah.
Spanish people speak English and Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
So you're doing your job. You are a productive member of society because you're a nurse practitioner. You're literally helping other American citizens. You pay taxes because you have to, because in order to get paid as a nurse practitioner, you have to file your taxes. You cannot skate under the rug and take advantage and get a handout if you are working. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So and get taxed. I mean,
Yo, can I,
So-
yeah, keep going.
so I got you.
something for you.
so in that scenario, you are not necessarily, in the eyes of the law, currently the ideal American. Why?
I don't
Well,
think that's
so-
true. Go ahead. Go ahead. and I'll caveat.
No, absolutely. I want to hear what you got to say. And I think we've said this in a previous episode. A lot of times it's not what you do, but how you do it.
How you do
You
it.
know what I'm saying? And so the thing is, I really think that, hey, wanting to keep out people who didn't get into the country legally is a novel idea. I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. I think how we're going about it is questionable. I think that we have it comes back to a heart posture issue for us, because the way in which we're doing things is it's incorrect. Obviously, we see people, it's not working. If you're snatching up American citizens, then obviously something is flawed, right? If it's based off of if we need to go back to the board and figure out like, hey, well, let's really focus on how we can get people who are illegally here, like,
Or
that's
actually violent criminals.
yeah, that should be focused on, right? And then I do have a question, and so you may know this person, and I think this is and again, it goes back to the heart posture issue for me.
Yeah.
So I'm at work, and I have a coworker who is he says his lineage is of German and Mexican descent. Okay. His father's side is German, his mother's side is Mexican, right? And he says his father of German descent, he had the opportunity to learn Spanish, right? And his father said, I will not have my son learning Spanish. That is a second citizen, or second, how did he say it? A second rate language. You know what I'm saying? And so, but the thing is, he was definitely all about in, you know what I'm saying, on the American thing. And so my thing is like, again, a heart posture thing. One reason I love America is because it's a melting pot. You know what I'm saying? I think that we are the way we are. We've achieved as much as we have achieved because we are a melting pot. We get to pull in, and that's against other countries who are just sort of like, okay, hey, this is all we got. We gonna face you with that, and then us, we come and hit you with the right and the left.
We got
you know what I'm saying, Doug? We have, you know what I'm saying, multiple.
My man
things
Pete
to hit you
said
with.
that is not our strength.
Okay. Multiple different things here to address, because I do agree that melting pot, yes, but we are the pot. They are melting into us. Like the vast majority of the stew is what's already been established here, right? And we're actually seeing an inverse of that, where cultures are saying, no, we want you to melt to us. And adopt on, you know, what our thing is, whatever that might be. Gosh, what was the other thing?
I concur with that.
Yeah. And then what were you saying just before? Oh, the Italian example. This is what happens. The overwhelming majority of people getting deported are rightfully getting deported, and many of them are criminals. I'd even say the majority of them are criminals.
That's incorrect.
I don't agree with that at all.
That's incorrect.
I absolutely don't agree with that.
And I pulled it up for us so that way we can see it together. So 7% of the actual people that ICE has pulled over the last year, and here it is right here, okay? 7% are violent criminals. 7%. Non-violent crimes make up the vast majority of the convictions committed. Non-criminal, a significant number of individuals arrested by ICE are non-criminal. 65% of the people that they're getting,
you came into the country illegally. You're a criminal. You have broken the law. You've broken the law. That's what it is. Here's the thing. Like the posture of the heart piece. Sure. There was no way this was ever going to be done without the media going crazy or people who just didn't want it going crazy. There was no way that it could ever have been done.
What do you mean?
Right.
Deportations.
Obama had whoa, that's
They're
incorrect.
turned away at the border.
That's
They
incorrect.
were turned away at the border. It's a
Obama
totally
had
different
more
deal.
deportations.
Yes, because they counted turning them away at the border.
And nobody was up in a tizzy about it. The Democrats weren't like, "Oh my God, Obama, why
Because
would
they
you
were
do
turned
this?"
away at the border. Also, Obama had more drone strikes, and there isn't all of this kerfluffle that we're seeing with the boat strikes in Venezuela.
Drones is just an invention of. Drones is just a revolution of war that everybody is using. Obama was just ahead of his curve.
I want to see some of his video footage from his strikes, because the whole reason this thing. Right, and I know we're jumping subjects here, but the whole reason this is even happening is because the current administration is so transparent and showing the American people so much that now there's something that they can make an issue out of.
I don't think they're transparent. I think they got
totally,
caught slipping.
They're wildly transparent.
I think they used it as clickbait. Oh, we blew up some drug dealers, y'all. We are the guys that are going to protect you from the drugs. That's what they did. And then when they did it, we realized that what they did was possibly blow up some people that didn't need to get blown up. And now they're facing the consequences.
They're drug
for
dealers.
It.
They can
First of all, we don't even know if they were
tap them.
But wait a minute.
Triple tap them.
But that's illegal, and it's called a war crime.
Well, let's reel it back in.
Not if you're trying to bring drugs into our country.
Let's reel it back in.
But Obama, I just got one question on
Reel it
Obama.
back in.
We gon', you know what I'm saying?
No, we turn it over.
I just have one question. You know what I'm saying? No, but so Obama, like, and this is more of a question more so than a statement. Did he go through the proper channels before he bombed those boats or whatever? Or I'm sorry, used the drones. Strikes. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Right, because he is the commander in chief and he is in control of the military ultimately. So yes, he is.
Yeah. No. You understand what I'm asking?
Yeah.
Okay, got you.
Because that's the question that's being asked at the current administration, that he has not gone through the proper channels. But the president is the commander in chief.
Right.
And these strikes that have occurred, and the admiral that went in front of
I'm talking about Obama though.
Congress. Yeah,
he did. Okay.
Right.
Got you.
Right. And I'm saying he did because of his position at the time. When the strikes were done, he is the president. He's the commander in chief. Osama bin Laden, that was an act of war. We flew into Pakistan.
We were already in war. We already had
not
war
with
on
Pakistan.
terrorists.
Not Pakistan. Okay,
no, not within Pakistan. But we did have an alignment.
That's where we took Osama out at, was in Pakistan.
Right.
We crossed that line. That was act of war. And that's a great point, because we have deemed these organizations as terrorist organizations, these drug cartels. Therefore, this is an attack.
I don't disagree with you. I'm not disagreeing with that. Here's where we have a disagreement.
Okay.
I don't disagree that we have deemed in this administration drug dealers that are shipping drugs to our country as terrorists. I don't disagree with that. Mm-hmm. Here's where we have a disagreement and where the hypocrisy is. You have a boat. It still has not been clear. They just said that. But nobody. Well, let me finish because this is important. Okay. There's no evidence to suggest this because they blew the boat up. We don't know what was on the boat. We said it was drugs, but nobody has come out from the intelligence community and said, hey guys, we spotted this amount of cocaine on this boat and we know these guys are traveling from here to there. We have not seen that yet. And we've had plenty of time for anybody to take claim of the drugs that were on that boat. Nobody has.
Well, I'm going to give a counterpoint to you.
Okay, go ahead.
So when you say, we don't know what these people, were doing, right? Were they drug dealers? Were they fishermen, right? This is a weird analogy, but you think about the UFO phenomenon that happens, right?
Yeah.
And the reason they don't release a lot of this stuff is because they don't want our adversaries to know what our intelligence gathering capabilities are.
That's fair.
So, and I think that is a big piece to what it is in regards to why they won't release certain information about, how'd you gather this, or how'd you gather that?
I'm just saying,
they don't want to know the extent that we have
that there was
Venezuela.
Right. So that's my question. So you think the U.S. military intelligence is crap, and that they didn't know what they were talking about?
That's not what I said.
Then why would you possibly consider that they are bombing people who are not drug dealers?
Because it's a publicity stunt. Because it says to the U.S. citizen that voted for the administration.
Do you guys believe that?
Well, I think here's what we're not looking at the big
I
picture.
absolutely don't believe that.
I think Trump ran on a lot of statements, and he's carrying them out. It shouldn't come as a surprise to us. He even said, "I'm going to carry out the biggest deportation."
I believe
event in
that.
history.
And I believed him when he said
He said, "I'm going to tear up the crap out of all these countries who I feel like have done us wrong." He is doing everything he said he would. I don't know why it comes as a surprise to people, but
It's not a surprise to me. Yeah.
the drug. We keep talking. We keep bringing up these boat strikes.
Right.
This is bigger than just the drugs.
Okay,
Oh, yeah,
talk
absolutely.
to me about it.
Because think about this. If the U.S. and Venezuela right now, by the way, this could go into a full-blown war, just so you know. Although it's Christmas time, the United States could be in a full-blown war before we know. But I want to pose this question to you and the audience, to you guys. Think about this. If the United States was solely concerned with drugs flowing into the country, why have we never declared war on Mexico? Why have we never declared war on Colombia? Because it's not just about the drugs. Venezuela
has what?
has been allowing Russian military aircraft advisors. They have allowed China for very lucrative investments into their oil infrastructure.
I was gonna say, what else do they have
You
there?
guys have,
They have what?
yes,
They got that black gold.
well, I think it's bigger
agree.
than that.
There's a
I
larger
think
chess play happening here.
there is a chess play, and our adversaries are in bed with Venezuela, as Venezuela's always been kind of U.S. adverse. And you got to look at history, right? The U.S. has never played nice with communists per se in the Western Hemisphere.
I agree.
You look at Nicaragua. We funded the Sandinistas, and we wanted to have them, go to war against their government and overthrow them. You look at Chile. We backed the opposition to the socialist government they have in the 70s.
Right.
We invaded Panama
Yeah, we did.
because Manuel Noriega, I think that's how I say it.
Noriega.
Noriega was dealing drugs and stopped playing game as far as the intelligence sharing aspect went. So we this is bigger than just the drug boats, and I think that
agree.
is such an important part of this discussion.
But I just want to say this one thing. Okay. We've declared war on drugs again. Okay, like Ronald Reagan did. Why did we just pardon the guy from Venezuela who shipped 400 tons of drugs?
Because he's the opposition to Maduro.
Because he wrote a nice, sexy letter to the commander-in-chief saying how he agreed with him and how great his presidency was and how great of a man he was. And you know what he did in return? Now you just blew up a boat. Even if, let's just say for devil's advocate's sake, let's just say I'll give you the drugs are on the boat. There's drugs on the boat. These are fish. They're just the boat guys. These are not the guys. These are not the guys running the show. We know that. Anybody that's seen any movie since 1985 knows that the boat guy is not the guy.
Which is why
We know
should
that.
tell you that's not about drugs.
Exactly. So it's a publicity stunt to show strength. However, we do have rules of engagement. It's a thing. I know that Pete Hegseth in his great grandstand to the military and the press said we should get rid of rules of engagement. But we still have it. It's still a thing. You can't just kill people because you think or the administration thinks that it's going to show strength. So even if there's drugs on the boat, it would be more beneficial to stop that boat if you have the intelligence, take the boaters off. There's two guys on there. Take the boaters off and actually interrogate them till we get to the real people that are shipping the drugs.
I think they already know.
Our Coast Guard, has been doing that for years. I think this is at the point now where, Trump and his administration have made it clear, we're not here to talk.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's a larger chess piece at play. I also agree that it's a publicity stunt. It's a deterrence, right? We're trying to deter, and that's why boat travel in that area is pretty much dropped off to zero. I also think, look, this is global politics, guys. It's just not ever going to be neat and perfect. Some drug dealer got a pardon, whatever. If we had if we had lost not an American, like the war on drugs is about cleaning up the drugs in America. If some body from another country or something gets a pardon, and we're just talking about one, and like where these entire societies are built off of the drug trade, whatever. If we had lost World War II, we would have been charged for war crimes for dropping the nuclear bomb. Like, but we didn't. We won. If we weren't the military power we were, Obama would have been charged with war crimes for all the drone strikes, guys. It's not some neat thing. Like, well, what about this? Well, what about that? There's always a what about this and a what about that. Like, it's. I don't know. Like ultimately, if you play this conversation out, the question has to be, okay, well then what's ideal? And then after you define what's ideal, it's like, okay, well, who is that person?
Right. Well, so my question is like, when do we use checks and balances? Only when it's convenient, or when
all the time?
You know what I'm saying?
All the time.
Because that's my only thing. Like, what's the difference between us and maybe like some rogue country? Let me not say that. Some country who has a tyrant in place. You know what I'm saying? In Africa, or maybe like somebody one of these monarchs in the Middle East, who's like their word is absolute. You know what I'm saying? And so my thing is like, I believe we need to do what we need to do. And I'm going back to what you said before. Like, I'm not surprised that Trump is doing what he's doing. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just surprised that.
I'm surprised people accept
I'm surprised that at the way in which it's being sort of carried out without sometimes the checks and balances, because the checks and balances is why when we split from England, the checks and balances was the thing. But like, hey, we never gonna let this mess happen again. You feel me? We gonna have some people in place. So this
we do have it, and they are falling predominantly in Trump's favor.
Got you.
But we do have it, and just because they're falling that way, it means that Trump's legal team did a better job than the opposition legal team or whoever was presenting the counter case. But it doesn't mean that we don't have checks and balances.
Right. And the only reason I say that is because I often hear, the commander in chief. Like, I'm commander in chief. I could do what the heck I want to do, and when I want to do it, how I want to do it. Which, yeah. But so you do have Congress. Like, you do have other things that you need in place before you just make decisions.
Right. Hey, if he's a king, why didn't he open the government?
Well, he could have if he chose not to.
No, he couldn't have. He would have.
There was literally a way for him to open it.
Yes, by providing health care to da-da-da. But the king didn't want to do that, right? Okay. But if he's a king, he should be able to say no to that and still open the government, right? Because he's a king. The checks and balances are very much so in place. We just saw that with the government shutdown, if not any other examples. And he's ready for the fade, y'all. He just spent all of the year before last in a courtroom in New York, took a bullet in the ear. He's ready for the fade.
Listen, anyone can bring the smoke on him. I'm not negating that Trump in his mind and in his immediate team.
It's a reality. It's not even in his mind. It's a reality.
What I'm suggesting is the moves that are being made are illegal.
Great, bring him to court. Like, that's what I'm saying. He's ready for it.
Why are we comfortable with these illegal things happening?
Because it's your opinion that they're illegal. It's not determined that it's illegal until it goes through the process.
There are war crimes.
It has to go through the process.
A Republican judge just said that, look,
some rando judge said something that's a Republican.
His job is literally to interpret the law.
It has not been taken to court, and one judge is not going to make the decision on that. That is not the way that plays out.
We're no longer going to count the judicial branch.
That's not correct.
The executive branch says so. Is that's
how we not feel? Correct? Well, I think it has to go through the full process.
I think another bigger part of the picture you two guys are talking about is this. We kind of failed in Afghanistan with the nation building aspect. I don't think they're trying to go to. And again, I'm tying back to Venezuela. I know you guys are talking about much more than just Venezuela, but I think the way you're seeing things going, Sean, is, the older generation is gone. The newer generation being the Trump administration, they're not coming to nation build. They're saying, Maduro, you got to get out, or we're going to bomb you. It's that simple. I think you have a government that is not going to do things the way it was done in the past and currently in America. And I think that they should be taken very seriously, and everybody should be taken very seriously when they say, what they're going to do. Because if we're being honest, Trump's doing a lot of things that he said he would.
Yeah.
And, the whole Venezuela thing isn't new. Like, this is nothing new. Obama actually was one of the ones who put an executive order in place to sanction Maduro and some of his top government officials. So this is nothing new,
Right.
by the way. And it's important, to include all these and say all these things to provide the whole picture, because I think the nation building aspect is gone. I think our next war, God, I pray to God that never happens, because what good does it do for anyone? War in general. But
Agreed.
I think the next war will not be a nation building, boots on ground, holding cities like we have in the past. I think it's going to be kind of like what you saw with Israel and Iran. I think that's the future of warfare. I think we got a preview of the future of war and how, Afghanistan shaped the entire world as a whole.
It's insightful.
Yeah, I agree with you. I hope that never comes.
So, and again, I want the audience to know none of us support it, obviously, but I think it's important to know that this is no longer the generation that was during the Afghanistan years.
Sure.
So, with that being said, Operation on the Rocks, episode 4, man, thank you guys so much. The eggnog was fantastic.
Episode 4.
Episode 4, man. We're 4 deep, y'all. I can't believe it, man. We made it here.
Again, I hope you have a fantastic Christmas. Hope you talk with your peoples about what we talked about. Why do you celebrate Christmas? What does it mean to you? And with that being said, we'll see you guys in 2026.
Cheers.